Have you ever stopped to think that the next global economic superpower might not be the country with the biggest tech companies or the strongest military, but the one that controls the resources behind the technology right now? There is a silent global race happening, a race that most people never hear about on the news, a race that could determine who leads the clean energy transition, who dominates electric vehicles, who builds the next generation of artificial intelligence, and who holds military superiority in the coming decades. And surprisingly, Brazil might be sitting on one of the largest untapped supplies of this strategic resource on Earth. I am talking about rare earth. At the end of this video, you will understand why these minerals are often called the oil of the 21st century, why the United States remains strategically vulnerable because of them, and how Brazil could either become a critical partner in reshaping global supply chains or miss one of the greatest economic opportunities of this century. Before we continue, let me ask you something. Do you believe the United States should focus on becoming fully independent in rare earth production, or should it strengthen alliances with resource? Rich countries like Brazil, despite the name rare earth elements, are not actually rare in terms of their presence in the Earth's crust. They are a group of 17 chemical elements, including neodymium, dysprosium, lanthanum, europium, terbium, and others that are essential to modern technology. What makes them special is not their scarcity, but the difficulty and costs of extracting and refining them. These elements are rarely found in concentrated deposits. They are usually mixed with other minerals, and separating them requires complex chemical processes. Is where the real strategic value lies, not just in mining, but in processing. Look around you. Our smartphone contains rare earth elements. Your laptop does. The speakers in your headphones. Do electric vehicle motors depend on them? Wind turbines depend on them. Advanced fighter jets depend on them. Missile guidance systems depend on them. Machines and hospitals depend on them. Without rare earths, there is no clean energy revolution there. There's no efficient electrification. There's no modern digital economy. For example, neodymium is used to create extremely powerful permanent magnesium. Magnets are critical for electric vehicle motors because they allow high efficiency and compact design. They are also essential in wind turbine generators because they improve performance and energy output. Dysprosium is used to make these metals resistant to high temperatures. Europium and terbium are used in display technologies to produce vibrant colors in screens. Lanthanum is used in camera lenses and battery technology. Gadolinium is used in medical imaging. Earths are not a luxury. They are structural components of modern civilization. Now, here is where it becomes economically explosive. An electric vehicle can require up to 5 times more rare earth materials than a traditional gasoline-powered vehicle. A single offshore wind turbine can use hundreds of kilograms to several tons of rare earth magnetite. Energy Agency projects massive growth in renewable energy and electric vehicle adoption over the next 2 decades. It means demand for rare earth elements is expected to multiply significantly. If oil defined geopolitical power in the 20th century, rare earths may define it in the 21st. But here is the strategic vulnerability today. More than 80% of global rare earth processing capacity is controlled by China. When rare earth minerals are mined in other countries, they are often shipped to China for separation and refining. That gives China leverage over global supply chains, and this leverage has already been demonstrated. 2010, during a territorial dispute with Japan, China restricted rare earth export. Immediate effect was price spikes, supply shortages, and industrial uncertainty. Governments around the world suddenly realized how exposed they were. This is not simply about economics. Earth elements are embedded in defense systems, precision guided missile stealth technology, communication satellites, radar systems, night vision equipment. Capability depends on secure access to these materials. It is why rare earths are no longer viewed as just commodities. They are considered strategic assets. In response, the United States has attempted to rebuild domestic supply chains. The Mountain Pass mine in California has resumed operations. Federal funding has been directed toward rare earth research, processing facilities, and recycling initiatives. Inflation Reduction Act and other industrial policies aim to strengthen domestic supply chains for clean energy technologies, but rebuilding a full ecosystem from mining to processing to advanced manufacturing takes time, capital, and technological expertise. China spent decades developing this. Dominicit was not accidentally invested heavily in extraction. Technology accepted low profit margins to eliminate competitors and built an integrated supply chain. So now let us bring Brazil into the picture. Geological surveys indicate that Brazil holds significant rare earth reserves, particularly in states such as Minas, Goiás, Bahia, and parts of the Amazon region. Brazil also has experience in strategic minerals. It controls more than 90% of global niobium reserves. That shows the country is capable of managing globally relevant mineral assets. Brazil chooses to develop its rare earth industry strategically. It could position itself as a key alternative. The United States, this could mean diversifying supply chains away from excessive dependence on China. For Brazil, this could mean billions in export revenues, industrial expansion, job creation, and geopolitical relevance. But here is the crucial question: will Brazil simply export raw ore? Will it invest in processing, refining, and advanced manufacturing? Because that difference determines whether the country captures value or loses it. There is a historical pattern seen in many commodity-rich economies. Export raw materials at low margins, then import finished products at high margins. This dynamic limits long-term development. If Brazil repeats this model, it may see short-term export gains, but miss the opportunity to build a domestic high-value technology ecosystem. There are also environmental considerations. Earth extraction can generate toxic waste and chemical byproducts. Improper handling can contaminate soil and water. China itself has faced severe environmental consequences from decades of aggressive mining. For Brazil, particularly in ecologically sensitive areas like the Amazon, environmental governance would be critical. Brazil faces a strategic crossroads. It could pursue responsible mining combined with industrial policy investment in processing capacity, partnerships with foreign technology firms, and environmental safeguards, or it could follow a short-term commodity export strategy. Broader concept economists refer to as the resource curse becomes relevant here. Rich in natural resources sometimes fail to diversify their economies. Instead of building competitive industries, they become dependent on commodity can weaken institutions, distort currency values, and limit innovation. Brazil has experienced cycles of resource-driven booms before, with sugar, gold, coffee, and oil. Rare earths could either reinforce that pattern or break it. If managed properly, Brazil could integrate into global clean energy supply chains, attract electric vehicle manufacturers and battery producers, and strengthen economic ties with major economies. For the United States, a diversified supply chain involving allies and strategic partners could reduce geopolitical vulnerability for global markets. Increased supply competition could stabilize prices and reduce systemic risk. The rare earth story is not just about mining, it is about power, influence, and economic architecture. Whoever controls critical materials influences industrial development. Whoever influences industrial development shapes technological progress. Whoever shapes technological progress defines global leadership. So the question is not simply whether Brazil should mine rare earths. The real question is how should Brazil balance environmental protection with industrial ambition? How should the United States structure alliances to secure critical minerals? Will global supply chains evolve as demand earth elements could generate billions in exports, strengthen diplomatic ties, support clean energy expansion, and reshape economic hierarchy. They could also generate environmental damage, reinforce commodity dependence, and intensify geopolitical competition. Outcome depends on policy strategy and long-term vision. Let me know in the comments. Should Brazil aggressively develop its rare earth potential? Should the United States deepen partnerships to secure? Should both countries prioritize domestic production and technological independence? If you enjoyed deep analysis about geopolitics, energy transition, and the future of global economic power, make sure to like this video and subscribe, because on this channel we do not just explain what is happening in the world, we explain how it will shape the future of global power markets and prosperity.